Welcome to your channel, Mastering Flawless English.
Hello, everyone.
Today we're taking a deep dive into a really useful resource you shared with us, AmericanAccentTraining.pdf.
Yeah, this looks like a pretty comprehensive guide.
Our goal is basically to unpack its most valuable insights to help you sound more natural, more confident when you're speaking American English.
Right. We'll be hitting key things like intonation, stress patterns, linking sounds.
And those tricky vowel distinctions, too.
Yeah.
All stuff that's, really essential for clear communication.
Think of this as your roadmap through the guide, focusing on the big takeaways.
Exactly. So let's jump right in. Where do we start?
Well, what jumps out immediately is how it tackles rhythm, specifically starting with stress in simple two-word phrases.
Okay.
It points out that typically in a descriptive phrase, think short nail or chocolate cake, the stress lands on the noun.
Right, the main thing being described. Short nail, chocolate cake. Makes sense.
Exactly. The nail is short, the cake is chocolate. You're emphasizing the core object.
But then it gets a bit more subtle, doesn't it? With what it calls set phrases.
Yes. This is where it gets interesting. When those descriptive phrases become super common, almost like fused concepts.
Like Bilui jeans or party animal.
Precisely. The guide says the stress shifts to the first word. Bluey jeans, party animal.
It's like the two words become one single idea in our heads.
Yeah, it signals a shared cultural image, almost. The stress moves forward to flag that familiar concept. It's less a description, more a label.
The example they use is pretty clear. Cable car, stress on car, sounds, well, maybe less American.
Right, a bit more like you're just describing a car that uses cables, but cable car, with the stress on the first word.
It feels much more natural for the thing you ride in San Francisco. It's that specific thing.
Exactly. It shows that move from description to a recognized concept.
Okay, that clarifies the basic idea.
Yeah.
But what about nationalities? That seems like a tricky area.
It can be. The guide notes it's not totally consistent. Sometimes the nationality gets the stress.
Like American guy. Maybe you're distinguishing him from others.
Yeah, perhaps the American part is the key new information. But then you take American flag.
And there, flag feels like the stronger word. The object itself is the focus.
Exactly. It depends on what's being emphasized. The nationality intonation quiz in the material is great for this.
Okay. Let's look at those examples.
You've got an American guy, stress on American, maybe pointing him out. But then an American restaurant feels more central there.
Right. Or American food, stressing the type.
Compared to an American teacher, where teacher is the main point.
And then an English teacher follows that same pattern, stressing teacher.
So it's really about context and what the speaker wants to highlight, not just a fixed rule.
Which leads nicely into this idea of sentence balance, I think.
Yeah, sentence balance. It explains how stress can actually shift even in descriptive phrases that aren't quite set phrases yet. Well, if more information is coming later in the sentence, the stress might move to the first word of the descriptive phrase. It sort of prepares the listener.
Okay, like setting the stage.
Exactly. It guides the listener through a longer thought. The Goldilocks example they give is good.
Right, just sunny forest. You'd probably stress forest.
Probably. But in the sentence, she is walking through a sunny forest and sees a small house, stressing sunny Y helps the flow.
Ah, I see. It balances the rhythm across the longer sentence, putting emphasis earlier to lead into what follows.
Precisely. It makes the whole thing smoother.
So that's stress within phrases and sentences. What about the overall melody, the intonation?
Right, intonation. The guide stresses how crucial this is for meaning beyond the literal words.
Oh yeah, the classic example. I didn't say he stole the money.
That one's perfect, just by shifting the stress. I didn't say.
Implication. Someone else said it.
He stole the money.
Implication. He did something else with it, maybe borrowed it. Implication. He stole something else, not the money. It completely changes the unspoken message.
And it's fascinating. Try saying that sentence in your own native language, shifting the stress. You'll likely find similar meaning shifts.
So it's a pretty universal aspect of language, how emphasis changes meaning.
It seems so. And to help visualize this pitch movement on stressed words, the material introduces staircase intonation.
Staircase intonation.
Yeah, just a way to picture your voice stepping up or down on the important words in a sentence. It helps visualize the melody.
Okay, so we've got rhythm and melody. Now, how do we make it all flow smoothly? Liaisons.
Exactly. Liaisons, the connections between words. This is key for that smooth, connected sound of American English.
Especially consonant to vowel links, right? Like in the consonant-vowel liaison practice.
Yes, that final consonant of one word just flows right into the starting vowel of the next, like pick it up becomes pick it up.
It stops it sounding choppy.
Definitely. And it's not just consonant to vowel, there's also vowel to vowel linking.
How does that work? Do you just jam them together?
Not quite. We usually insert a tiny glide sound, like a Y or a W, to bridge the gap smoothly.
Ah, okay. Examples.
Like, she isn't might sound like she
I
made it.
hear it, like a little yai sneaks in.
And who is can become who is. A little W sound connects them.
Subtle, but it makes a difference. And then there are those consonant plus Y combinations that actually change the sound.
Right, these are really common. T plus Y often makes a CH sound.
Like, what's your name? Becoming, what's your name?
Exactly. Or don't you, becoming Doncha.
Okay. What else?
D plus Y can sound like a J. Did you becomes did you.
Uh-huh.
S plus Y often sound like SH. Bless you can sound like W.
Right.
And Z plus Y can make a ZH sound like these in measure. How's your two? Might sound like how's your.
Oh, okay. Those are definitely things to listen out for.
For sure. And the guide also mentions those really informal colloquial reductions and liaisons.
Like gonna, wanna, gotta.
Yeah, things like I have got to go turning into I've got to go, or do you want to be coming wanna?
The advice is usually not to force these, right? But to be aware of them.
Exactly. Trying too hard can sound unnatural, but recognizing them is crucial for understanding fast, casual speech.
Yeah, otherwise you might miss what someone's saying.
And related to that is how unstressed small words get reduced.
Articles, prepositions, auxiliary verbs, like a, the, for, to, is, can.
Right. They often lose their full vowel sound and get shortened. A table for four might become table for.
With that trois sound, the.
Precisely. That reduction is a huge part of the rhythm.
Okay, that covers linking and reductions. Let's move on to the sounds themselves. Vowels first. They can be tough.
Definitely. The resource highlights distinguishing key sounds like A in cat.
A as in caught or father.
And that schwa sound, like the A in about.
For many learners, especially if their language doesn't have these distinct sounds, differentiating A and A can be a real challenge. That cat versus caught sound.
Absolutely. Using the phonetic symbols, like the guide does, is really helpful here. A for cat, A for caught. It gives you a solid reference point.
It also mentions tense versus lax vowels.
Briefly, yeah. Tense vowels, like the E and C, generally use more muscle tension in the mouth.
And lax vowels, like the I in sit, are more relaxed.
Getting that distinction right is important. The guide has specific practice exercises.
Like reading the E sound, the ten main, helps you focus on that specific sound.
And reading the sound, a light of lang, het walks. Isolating the sound in context.
And that schwa gets its own focus, too, because it's everywhere.
It's the most common sound, super relaxed. The what must the sun above wonder about paragraph is good practice for that lazy sound.
And exercises contrasting pairs like beat versus bit directly target that tense-lax vowel difference.
Super useful for fine-tuning your ear and pronunciation.
Okay, vowels covered. What about tricky consonants? The American T is famous.
Ah, yes, the American T. It's quite versatile. Not always that sharp T sound you expect.
Right. The guide breaks it down into rules based on position. Rule 1.
Top of the staircase. Basically, at the beginning of a word or stressed syllable, it's usually a clear, sharp T, like an top, table, attain.
Okay, standard T, rule 2.
Middle of the staircase, this is the big one. When T comes between vowel sounds, it often softens to a quick D sound, like water, sounding like water.
Or butter, like butter, city, like city. That's very characteristic.
Very. Rule 3 is bottom of the staircase.
At the end of a thought group or sentence.
Yeah. The T might be held or sort of disappear, like and put IT out. The final T might be very soft or unreleased.
You stop the air, but don't quite pop the T.
Exactly. And rule 4 is the held T before an N, like in button or certain.
Where the T sound almost gets swallowed before the N, do an N? Certain.
Kinda, yeah. The air stops for the T but releases through the nose for the N. It's not quite button, it's different.
Mastering those T variations makes a huge difference in sounding natural.
Absolutely massive. Another tricky one mentioned is the L sound.
The L. Yeah, especially the dark L at the end of words, like in feel or call.
Right. It can be tough. The tongue position is different from the light L at the beginning of words like light. The guide has exercises comparing L with T, D, and N.
And specific practice for final Ls, which is helpful. And sometimes L is silent, like in walk or talk.
Good point. The guide also emphasizes relaxation, doesn't it?
Yes. That relax reminder for voiced consonants and reduced vowels, you don't want too much tension.
Crucial for smooth, natural speech. It also touches on distinguishing V and W.
Always a classic issue. Vest versus West. The vile VIP exercise probably targets that.
I'd imagine so. And finally, it covers the nasal consonants M, N, and NG, how they're produced, with air through the nose.
Right, making sure the NG in sing is distinct from the N in sin.
Exactly. Those distinctions matter for clarity.
Wow, okay. We've covered a lot of ground just scratching the surface of this PDF.
We really have. It's packed with information.
But hopefully, this deep dive has given you, our listener, a much clearer picture of the key concepts in AmericanAccentTraining.pdf.
Yeah, insights into stress, intonation, how words connect smoothly through liaisons and reductions.
And those important nuances of American vowels and consonants, especially that tricky T.
To really get the hang of this, though, you really need to dive into the full resource yourself.
Definitely. Work through the exercises, listen actively to native speakers. That's where the real progress happens.
What would you say is the single biggest thing for someone to take away from all this?
Good question. I think it's how interconnected everything is. You can't just fix one sound in isolation.
Right.
It's the combination of stress, rhythm, intonation, linking, and the individual sounds that creates that natural flow. It all works together.
That's a great way to put it. It's the whole system.
So, for you listening, if you found this deep dive valuable, if it helped clarify some things about American pronunciation,
I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to Mastering Flawless English for more analyses like this one.
and please give this testimony a like. Seriously, clicking that like button tells YouTube, hey, this is useful content for English learners.
It really does. And share it with friends or fellow learners who you think could benefit from understanding these aspects of pronunciation better.
By subscribing, liking, and sharing, you help YouTube notice this content and show it to more people who are working hard to improve their English, just like you are.
That way, more learners can find these explanations and the practical exercises we've talked about and hopefully take their pronunciation up a level.
Absolutely. And we'd love to hear from you, too. What parts of American pronunciation do you find the most challenging?
Yeah, or are there other resources, other books or materials you'd like us to tackle in a future deep dive?
Let us know down in the comments. We're always curious to hear what you're working on.